California, living my life in California, getting it right in California, did life in California, stay prison, California, mama just called California, where you at, fool? California, don't get tired in California, I run a marathon in California. YouTube, what's going on? I'm back to doing reaction videos. I've been gone a while since I've been gone. There's been some new up-and-coming YouTube sensations that have blown up, speaking about prisons. And we have one new up-and-coming YouTuber who has blown up really fast by the name of, his YouTube channel is That Prison Guard, Hector Bravo. If you haven't, go ahead and follow him. I've just been itching and dying to make a reaction to any of his videos. I was in Donovan making YouTube videos back in 2017, where I first started putting out my channel and doing interviews over the prison phone. I was lucky enough to interview the likes of X-Rated before he came home, probably one of my most popular videos. And now I'm home doing YouTube, but I've laid off of the reactions while I've been grinding in the university. I'm now a college student at the University of California, Irvine. Shout out Zaza for that. But today I'm gonna review this video by Hector Bravo because he touched on use of force incidents, basically when somebody who's incarcerated assaults an officer, what the response is. And everybody that knows, when I first went into the county jail and adult system, very articulate OG told me, you got to do to them what they're going to do to you. Because if you hit one of these guards, they're going to break you off something nasty. So that one individual you get a hold of, when you first get off on him, you do whatever tragic, as much tragic as you can to him. You get all of it out and in, because they're going to do to you 10 times worse. So get it in. And if he dies, you know, that's basically what you got potentially coming from the guard. They're going to get on you. So even though I was educated about that and learned about that, that doesn't mean I thought any of that stuff was right. Because for one, correctional officers are in a paid position. So before I get any more, let me go to Hector Bravo's channel and play his video, give you a little insight what I'm talking about. And shout out Hector, no disrespect. I know I'm gonna have a completely different opinion. I'm taking a scholarly approach. I educate myself on this daily. Came from the same world, opposite side. I don't know how much you respect me. You might have zero respect for me, but I'll show you some type of respect, man. I'm glad that you left CDC. I'm sure you're in a much better, fortunate position now working for those guys. Let's go ahead and share our screen, share our sound. Let's get into this.
All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome to the channel. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So here's the one that you guys have been asking for. Here's the one that you guys have been wanting to hear, okay? Are prison guards, correctional officers abusing, physically beating up inmates? All right.
Wait. Before you answer, Hector, yes, the answer is yes. I don't know not one person who did life in prison and did over 10 years that hasn't witnessed somebody being abused. I'm sure, Hector, you've seen an officer be really agitated and then somebody was talking shit to him, so they dropped the, like self-feeding, for instance, Lancaster. An officer was self-feeding. He didn't like the dude in the cell talking shit to him, telling him to hurry up and give him his food. You're going to get into this later, so I'll let you get into it. But in this story in Lancaster, the officer throws the tray on the floor and says, oh, he threw it at me. Pop the door. Goes in there and breaks the dude's jaw, right? So that wasn't abuse. That was abuse. Oh, man, more abuse stories. I've seen stomp out parties where sheriffs and correctional officers stomped out people in handcuffs, individuals that happen to be incarcerated. So, yeah, man, the answer is yes.
Before I get to that, let me break it down to you guys. If you ask an inmate, hey, how did myself conduct himself? He's going to say, oh, he was respectful, he was fair, the dude was understanding, he communicated, okay? If you ask another inmate the same question about me, that dude's going to tell you, oh, that guy fucking stomped me out. That guy's a fucking asshole.
Probably.
Both of those stories are true. Okay? That's what I need you guys to understand. The media, maybe your loved one's stories, maybe the misconception has gotten everything so twisted and discombobulated. Okay? You guys have to understand something. As correctional peace officers, we're humans. We're humans. We're men. We're women. the same fashion that inmates told me, hey, you better treat me like a man. I'm a man first and foremost. That same concept goes both ways.
It does. I mean, you're right. But my point of contention has always been you're paid a lot of money to follow those rules. Those of us who have chosen to break the rules and become incarcerated, we never signed a contract with CDC. We were forced to be incarcerated because of our crimes. We were held accountable for something for breaking the law, and now we're forced. Of course, you choose it at the beginning, but you're forced to be in this situation. You're not paid, so you don't have to abide by those rules. You have to abide by our rules because we're the ones that are going to be killing each other. Even though you guys have killed some of us and have tortured us repeatedly or given us, just treated us poorly, the rules that you follow, that you're paid to follow, that our tax dollars are paying you to follow, to enforce safety and security institution, you have to discipline yourself to not harm people, Hector. You got to have that discipline. And if I know you're a man and I know you're a gangster, you're hands down, Hector, you're thugged out, bro. You got an upside down cross, a ski mask like Angel with an AK-47. Bro, I know you're in the military. That's thugged out. That's banging. That screams violence. And I know you be about that. You be about guns. You be about violence. So it is what it is. We're just clearing it out, man. You need a hug. I'm here for you to give you a hug. But that's what I see. So that's what I'm feeling. That's the energy I'm feeling. You want to demand that respect, but you got into a profession where you're somebody's caregiver, bro. I know you don't want to go for that. I know you want to go old school and be like correctional officers have to be hard. Prison has to be hard, tough on crime. But none of that works because 95% of the people you were tough on crime with are your neighbors now. Look, I'm your neighbor. I was treated like shit at different times, and but to each his own, bro. I completely disagree with you.
Okay? That's it. Bottom line is that we're humans. We're people. Okay? And I used to tell my staff members, you don't go to work to be punching bags. You don't go to work to be pin cushions. Okay? Safety, 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 safety. Keep your head on a swivel and watch your back. Watch your guys' back, right? The environment that we're in. Let's not let's keep it real. You will hear nothing but the truth, nothing but the real. 99.9% of people that end up in prison have committed a crime. Okay, some
99, yeah, pretty much some type of crime. Maybe not the crime they're in there for, but I'm pretty sure they committed some. Like I committed crimes every single day before I was incarcerated for a crime I didn't necessarily commit. So you're kind of right there.
some violent crimes. Okay, I have seen those Netflix documentaries where they get out after years and years of an unwrongful arrest, and that's sad. Okay, that's unfortunate. With that being said, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. Okay, it was February 2015. I had just promoted to sergeant. All right, I already told you guys I started at Centinela and I promoted to Donovan. A whole nother world. All right. I land on an SNY yard, me thinking, oh, everything's cool. SNY, level 3. I was brand new as a sergeant. They have this thing called HS meds at 8 o'clock at night. For those that have worked at prisons or mental health inmates or mental health institutions, the line is longer for medications, right? So that's what we were doing. And I was a sergeant. I was standing in front of the program office. All right. In housing unit 17, I hear the alarm go off. It's like a buzzing sound, right? Something told me to run. All right. Like one of those things you get gut feelings or whatever. Plus, I wasn't doing shit. I was just standing there. And anytime I heard an alarm go off without a radio transmission being transmitted first, I always automatically assume the worst, staff assault, right? Because that's kind of what happened. If you don't have time to get on your radio, you're going to hit your button if you're getting assaulted, if you're a cop in the building. I haul ass. I go in there. I go in through the rotunda. I look at the podium area. I see an inmate in the prone position. I see a couple officers like kind of dog piled on top of them somewhat, right? And I'm trying to gather. The alarm is blaring loud as fuck in the building, and I'm trying to gather fast what's happening, right? And I'm assuming, okay, was this a one-on-one? All right, if so, where's the other inmate? Okay, but no, why are they in the podium area? That's not, that's kind of out of bounds for the inmate. And I'm gathering shit, right? I hand up my keys to turn off the audible alarm, the loud sounding alarm. My baton had already been drawn, right? Because that's something I learned in Sentinella. Prior to running into a housing unit, I expand my baton, right? Because history proves Calipat inmates ambushed the officers as they came through the rotunda. It's on YouTube, right? So we do things for a reason, right? Because of the violent environment that we're in and the propensity for violence.
What we learned about Calipat going into prison as lifers is that the East Coast Crips, shout out, notorious in prison. Like they have a good reputation as far as standing on business in the community too. Nobody can go up against those guys, and if you do, you're going up against a wall. They're with the business really deep, and man, they gave the business to the correctional officers. They were saying that that's the reason why when I got to prison, they had gates on all the level 4 yards. My first prison was Pelican Bay 180. Our B yard was chopped up into like 4 smaller yards, 8 gates. It's probably 4 gates. I'm putting a dub on it. 8 buildings, a gate in between every 2 buildings. And then on the 8 yard, you had a gate down the middle and then a gate protecting canteen and the staff, free staff. You always have a correctional officer escorting you or opening the gate for you to get anywhere where free staff are going to be because those gates weren't in place. And they're saying the East Coast ran up in the program office and stabbed up some sergeants and some other correctional officers. So that's the story I got. I know Hector's talking about the rotunda. He's talking about the building. It might have been a different case, but that's what we heard. I know you heard what you heard, but when I went into the system, we get training and educated as well on what to expect or the history on why things are the way they are.
My baton's out. I hear the officer say, "He stabbed me, Sarge." I fucking instantly look at dude's hand, right? And his hand was face down, and I see the weapon pointing out like this. With all my might, I hit the dude with my baton on his forearm, and I broke his forearm, right? He swings it back like this, yelling in pain. Then I hear the officer say, "He has it tied to his hand." So I'm like, what the fuck? I zoom in again, sure as shit. The dude got his bed sheet, ripped it up, and I'm assuming he had his celly tie it to his hand just because the way it was woven in between his fingers and around his wrist. But
You have to tie it to your hand so you don't lose it and it gets used against you. So that's a strategy. You want to tie that thing to you because there's been cases where people have been murdered with their own knives or stabbed with their own knives and been knocked out and had their knife taken from them. So that's one reason why he would tie it to him. But yeah, I don't argue with that use of force. I mean, if I ran in a building and see somebody with a knife, even as a non-correctional officer, if I see someone with a knife in front of me, I'm going for that hand 2-on-1, or I'm gonna at least try. But you have a baton, so of course you could whack that really hard. Makes sense, Hector.
I'm like, oh fuck. So then I proceed to start stomping on the guy's hand, right? And I'm stomping this dude out.
Bro, but it's oh man, it's tied to his hand. You're stomping on his hand. That's crazy. Like I'm trying to think how you justify this as a somebody who's paid to do this. Let me fix your screenshot, bro. Don't leave looking like that. All right, we'll leave you right there. Um, Dang, Hector. So you stomped on his hand, but it was tied to his hand. At that point, stomping on his hand isn't gonna really do anything but torture him. You know, you're breaking his hand, you're disfiguring him. Maybe holding that hand right, 2-on-1, putting that you don't want to put it in a cuff with a knife in it. But maybe getting 2-on-1 on that hand. I know it's risky, but maybe that's what you do. And you're in the spur of the moment. You're moving fast. I try to give you the benefit of the doubt in this one so far.
I'm trying to disable his hand from stabbing other people.
I get
Okay,
it.
I'm trying to stop this inmate from hurting my cops. Mind you, we had a green light to kill him. Okay, understand that deadly force is authorized in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and understand this, where we're coming from. Policies and procedures, safety and security. His head was up against the podium area. The setup is different at Donovan. They have like a board right there at the desk where they put their IDs, the inmates' IDs, so they can know who's in there. I didn't have access to that inmate's head. If I had access to that inmate's head, I would have taken advantage of that opportunity. Okay? Not because I'm an asshole, not because I'm mean, not because I want to hurt people, but because this is happening. Okay? This is transpiring in front of me.
I get it, bro. You just defended yourself from potential arguments, not because you're asshole, not because you're mean. But that's a lot of what we see is that you guys will break people's jaws, knock people's teeth out, disfigure people, and some of your partners have done it even when individuals haven't had a weapon because they were angry and felt like they got punked potentially or disrespected, so they took it out, especially on SNY individuals because you guys look down upon them as weak or trash. I know that's not a way to respond or describe any human being because at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to you're going to need another human being one of these days, and it's going to be the guy that you call trash is going to be the only one that can help you. And I know you would say, I don't want that guy's help, kill me. But that's your way of thinking. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't know about getting to his head, bro. But you did explain what some other correctional officers do, and what I believe you probably would have did, which would have been a stomp on his head. Um, I'm not necessarily sure about that. I can't really say. I don't know. Let's go.
I'm stomping this dude out for the life of me, right? Somebody yells, get the cut down tool. Cut down tool is a pair of scissors that are like rounded, like medical scissors. We usually use those when an inmate is hanging in their cell. Okay? And I'm exposing you guys to the reality of it. When they're dead, we cut the noose with the shears, right? And then we preserve the noose as evidence. Anyways, we're using force all the way through. We're using force.
Since you brought that up, Hector, my boy in Lancaster hung himself. He got sprayed for it, bro. First thing the big correctional officer did when he popped the door was spray him and drag him to the cage. Saved his life, but he was full of pepper spray. That was a crazy twist of fate, and I don't think he was supposed to get sprayed for hanging, but another story.
Force, because it's authorized. Because if we don't stop this individual, he's gonna kill somebody. Okay, he already stabbed the officer, right? In the chest, good thing we have a vest. In the bicep, you're getting my drift here. We are working this dude. And we finally cut off the weapon, right? We cut it off. Fuck, we're exhausted. The adrenaline dump. We restrain him. Now we have to get him from point A to point B.
And Hector, man, I know you know about going from point A to point B is a really rough ride for somebody who just stabbed an officer. Lancaster, again, this was on the S&Y yard. He used to dump individuals on their face. So there was this really big Hispanic burly dude, thugged out. Anytime he got into it with somebody and he had to drag him to the program office, he would dump them on their face on the way and say they were resisting. I don't know how many times he got away with that. That was pretty crazy. Um, wasn't it in Donovan on C Yard? I was in the hole with some guys who said they would pull the shirt over the guy's face so they don't know what officer was doing it, drop them on their face, and then drop their knee down on the back of their head so their teeth would get broken down the concrete. So I know as you're escorting this guy, that's the kind of treatment he gets. I don't know what you guys did, but also in the program office, he gets jumped. I've seen guys thrown on the ground and jump. So what did you guys do, Hector?
Now we have to get medical attention for the officers, for the inmate. Like there's a whole process that goes into this, okay? I haven't even got into report writing yet. So the dude gets escorted to the holding cell in the gym, right? Me coming from Centinela, the inmate was a white inmate. His race was white. I assumed it was a hit on the cop because why else would anybody fucking tie a weapon to their hand and go after a cop if it wasn't a sanctioned hit? It doesn't work that way at Donovan, all right? Sometimes you get people strung out on drugs, crazy EOP, level 4 override. Mind you, this inmate was a level 4, and the powers that be, the managers, Sacramento, they love to override inmates, good behavior overrides, onto level 3 facilities. Fucking sometimes even level 2s. Sometimes even level 1s.
It works both ways. You also get overrode to higher levels. My first yard was a level 4 180, and I was level 4 270. And later on, at the end of my prison career, I did 16 years like Hector. Um, they were going to override me to a level 4 when I was a level 2, but let's go.
So that's what this guy was. He was an EOP level 4 SNY override. Which is extremely dangerous, right? So I thought it was a sanctioned hit with the whites. So we gaffled a couple whites up. They were just like, hey, fuck, we don't know what's up with that dude. But at the time, I didn't believe their story. Once we got everything situated, yes, of course, they got released from ADSEC after a proper investigation, proper interviews. And it was a one-man mission. Dude was strung out on meth for like 5 days and made up some fucking story in his head and went after a cop.
All right, Hector, man, we had to cut it short. Your video was 19 minutes, and I'm doing a review, so I'm not sure I can do a 19-minute review and play your entire video, but just capturing the first portion. I guess in that situation, the way you broke it down, yeah, you weren't in the wrong. I know how EOP, SNY, level 4, it could get pretty rough. Doesn't necessarily make them dangerous because, it's not a science to giving people points and designations, but all right, Hector. You weren't so bad in that one. But man, I was there 16 years. I did my first 9 years all level 4 high security. I've seen some brutal beatings on the behalf of sheriff and correctional officers taking out their aggression on people who are incarcerated. I got the first one was the Southerners did stab a correctional officer in the county jail. So the beating they got, you know, it's a tough one because they cut the correctional officer, they cut his throat. So it's tough. They were beaten, but that's kind of what you expect. Later on, though, before I came home in Wasco reception, while I was coming back from court, going back to Donovan, that guy was clearly mentally ill, spit milk on people, threw a fake punch at an officer, and then got dogged out. The way he was beat up there, Hector was out of pocket, bro. I think if you seen that one trying to back up those officers who did that, you would have a hard time if that's the story we were telling. That's not the story you shared, so I can't get on you for that. I'm just sharing my opinion and position that the system's huge, Hector. It's 35 prisons. I've been to about 15 of them. I got around in my 16 years. I didn't just stay one institution. I was moving. I've had issues. I've had fights. I've had conflicts. And I've experienced a lot. And I was on the other side, learning a lot. And I can tell you there's a lot of abuse. Each prison is different. Some prisons are really chill. Some prisons really bad. Donovan was known as for us as a really chill prison because it was pretty lax. Somebody could get beat up and not get in trouble for it. On your side, you guys were pretty burnt out, not as much camaraderie, which made it better for us. Because when you guys are all on one accord, like Pelican Bay, more like CMC, you guys keep more of a structured program and you can hold things down a little better than you could at Donovan. But anyways, man, I'll sign out here, everybody. That's my review of Hector Bravo. Don't forget, check out his channel. Follow, like, subscribe. Also follow mine, like, subscribe, and let me know if you want more review videos. I want to review some other of my peers that have gotten out and have videos. I'm gonna look at some of these YouTube gangsters that be posting. No disrespect to them. I'm just a humble college student down here in California doing my thing. Came from the life, living the life, and doing really good for myself. And you can too. So what I need you to do is don't you ever let a judge take your life from you. Forget that. Peace. Good, you could do what you like, don't let the judge take that from you.